Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It is the following day of doing all the work on the second gen, so actually that video probably just posted today at noon. This is the following day. So we're going to keep working on the second gen. I actually got some tires and wheels in the back, and they are welds, so I'll just leave that there. And there are, I don't know if you guys can see those, there are some titty caps on the floor in the back. So we've got welds. We're going to go put them all on the second gen and do a paint correction as well. And then we're going to get under it, check some other things, just the typical maintenance. I really need to give this thing a feel and see what all it still needs. Good afternoon, and on today's episode of Gavin Already Wants a Second Gen Really Bad, so let's make it worse, we're back with a new episode. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm gonna love it. It's up in the air right now, so we're not at ride height, but oh my goodness, I'm gonna love it. FYI, you guys know I love welds. I really love welds on a second gen. But these are 16 by 8 sidewinders. These are Andy's wheels. And of course we have titty caps. Let's, I'm gonna get those cap bolts all the way on, and then we'll switch to the other side and keep on moving. Okay, so I haven't even seen it outside. Let's go ahead and back this thing out. I think it's gonna look just nasty, I think it's gonna be great. So let's put you guys over here. Okay, so hopefully you guys will be able to hear me over the second gen, but I think this looks sharp as can be. It's a 16 by 8 weld sidewinder on a 285/75. Obviously, tires are pretty junky. They're just Firestone Destination ATs. We just haven't changed them yet. I mean, that's a look. I don't know why I like this so much better than like 22 by 12s, but it might be because I have issues. But mostly it's because it's about that. All about the old school. Okay, guys, so I've been kind of doing some testing. This is something I do before I really paint correct any vehicle. Most of you guys know this is this is what I used to do. Like this was my thing. And really some of my stash is I've ran low on products, some of it's been rated. I mean, I have what I've got. And I'm using what I used on the OBS that turned out very well. If you guys never got to see that, which I probably didn't show it to you, I'll throw that in right here. But basically using a wool pad on my DeWalt, and right now using some 3D cutting compound. And honestly, I'll use this stuff again with a finishing pad, and it does amazing. This stuff is actually super good. I had used this 3M stuff my whole life, and I've really been converted because I do like this stuff a lot more. It's water-based versus oil-based. Much easier, not as much cleanup, all that good stuff, and you get really good results. But clear coat on this truck is very tough. Very, very tough. So you guys can see over here, I mean, let's really, hold on, let me move the screen. We're really gonna try and get this damn camera to focus. Okay, so look at all that oxidation. If you guys look at the light, you can see that actual oxidation in there. Might be too close for it. And then like look at the light bulbs on the ceiling. There we go. So look at all that oxidation. It's all over the hood. It's oxidizing really badly. Now look at the ceiling lights in that. We'll follow it all the way over. You can keep looking at that same light. By the way, these are not rock chips. Most of this is compound slinging. So yeah, I mean, you can see the clarity change. Go from right where it's at there to very crisp right here. Now, some of the white spots you see here, those are rock chips. We live on a gravel road, so don't get all too worked up about this. We're cleaning up old paint. Some of you don't understand why, but so you can still see a tad bit of scratch in that paint. So let's see if we can go from here to, yeah, okay, now look at all those versus, and that's pretty bad. Versus over here, you still get a little bit. And normally myself, none of that is acceptable. Like I want absolutely none. And if that takes sanding, I will usually do so. But it's really pretty good for what it is. And right now I don't have my other heavier compound, and I really need another pad, but we're just gonna skip over that because I don't have any of that. I need to go down to Joplin to get it, and they're already closed. So if I do it, it'll be tomorrow, but it is cleaning up pretty good. I just want to give you guys an update on where we're at and kind of what the paint's looking like on the hood. The paint on the hood is the worst paint on the truck, so if we can get this to look good and the top side of the fenders, the rest of this is going to be cake. So this is why I do my test spots right here, because this is going to be the worst stuff I see. So hopefully some of those tips can help you guys out in your future polishing, buffing experiences. Alright, so I never showed you guys the 50-50 shot, so to speak. Trying to get an angle where you'll be able to see it. There you go. So look at up there towards the top of the hood. That is the side I did versus the side I have not done. So that's where the tape line was at. As you can tell, that is much, much better. Unfortunately, like I was showing you before, some of the scratches just got to be what they are. Not willing to take clear coat to it. It's just too thin. Yeah, that's where we're at. We'll probably move to this side of this fender so you guys can see that, and then do this whole side right next. I'm about done. I'm just got to do a little bit of the other half of the hood. It's really taken 2 good cuts, or 2 good passes with my polisher to get it where I want it, so it's taking a little bit longer.
Running out of room.
Alright guys, so I am making it back towards the extended cab portion of the cab. As you saw, or as you're going to see, Andy and them they cleaned out the inside of the truck, they cleaned the engine bay. Andy's now taking a look at some gauges. There was a gauge mess sitting right over towards the front of the engine compartment, or back, I should say. And what all have you guys found? Like what is even hooked up for at this point?
Nothing really, because the gauges don't even have power, because the ground was not connected.
So there's for sure no gauge lights. Fuel
Yeah.
pressure has never been hooked up.
It's just kind of hanging
Which,
here.
I mean, if you guys are VP guys or really know any Dodge knowledge at all.
Definitely don't need to know fuel pressure.
Yeah. Yeah, just like in one of the Firepunk's videos they posted recently, Levon was talking about how on his way home from buying his, it was only like 2 or 3 years old, his VP truck back in the day, it would literally cut out at higher RPM. So it was a problem stock and it needed to be addressed. Luckily, this has a FAS on it. I don't know if that's good or bad, honestly, but yeah, you need to know fuel pressure. They even put a dummy light in here and didn't even hook up the dummy light. I mean, so that's concerning considering the Edge says the same amount of fuel pressure all the time, so that's full of crap.
Realistically, this obviously doesn't have 2 turbos anymore, so one of these needs to come out.
Yeah.
And the EGT probe needs to go in.
Yeah.
This is a smoky bastard.
Yeah, and what Andy's talking about is these are both boost gauges. One's 60 PSI, one's 100, because it had compounds on it. Because it's still, yeah, it can be smoky still, so definitely need an EGT gauge in there. I do have one over in my little roll toolbox thing, but it is black. It doesn't match the rest of these, so we'll figure out what he's going to do with that. Yeah, truck's cleaning up nice, just doing some odds and ends stuff. Probably going to rehook up.
De-2nd genning it.
Yeah, as Andy likes to call it, de-2nd genning it. That's truly what has been done with all this stuff was prior to Keller owning it, so we've never even looked at any of this stuff. Okay, so the more Andy digs, the more he finds. So down there in the fuse box, there was a wire just shoved in with a fuse to try and make it work. Look at how, actually you got your light out. Look at how the connections are on this gauge. That's just wire wrapped around the terminals. This one has, at least has the connectors on it, the spades.
Corrector.
Yeah, but that is brutal. Alright, so I've worked it back, done the door, done the extended cab portion on the top. I'm now back to the bed, which you guys can see how dull it is. That's why I'm showing you what I'm showing you. So you can see where some sort of maybe chrome trim deals are on here, I would assume. But look at the difference in the color of the paint. Look how dull and like light red that is versus that. So you can tell this paint is very sun faded, unfortunately. I mean, that's part of having an old truck. So we're gonna try and get this to match as best we can and see how close we can get it to see how much more red we can get it. You can kind of see the comparison here. See myself there versus how just cloudy this is. So obviously we do got a lot of rock chips and things like that, but it's turning out very, very good. Even the Laramie badge cleared up after I got on it. Okay, so Andy's up here cleaning up some of the wiring and kind of hiding some of it. And the main power wire for the Edge, he said there's something going on here, so we're gonna take a look.
Some of these jobs.
So it was literally a wire stuck into the fuse. Keller had some intermittent power issues to the Edge, I believe, is what was happening. So that would explain a lot of that. I mean, any bouncing around on these gravel roads, the connection's just not there. It's not good. So that would explain that, which will hopefully not run into any of those issues. I just made they're going to keep continuing on that stuff. I just made my first pass on the bed, and you can still see, that'll focus. There are some swirls right there, as you can see. So we're going to make another pass and keep on moving along. Unfortunately, so far it's not blending. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this in videos, but whenever we're working on stuff on the engine bay, almost every single time, if this angle focus, we're standing on a set of welds. Yeah, this time it's only a wheel, but usually, like even when we have my 20x12 Cheyennes, I would lay those things down and work on them. But so Andy is just unraveling the can of worms over here. There's the Edge monitor. Well, it's an Edge juice with attitude, I believe. The Edge monitor was, I don't know, the wiring is routed all over the place.
So we'll start with the drivability and how the truck ran. Makes complete sense, being that it is not anywhere close to stock, and the edge wasn't even grounded. So the edge was doing nothing other than being a $1,200 monitoring system, we think.
Yeah, that didn't even monitor crap. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
the
Well,
fuel
half
pressure gauge didn't work.
The pump wasn't tapped.
The boost gauge didn't work.
Yeah, half the shit on it wasn't even plugged in to anything. And then we got this mess of shit. This is the wire that goes from the monitor to the edge, and instead of it coming out of the firewall here like it does and going straight up to the monitor, it goes in to this side of the dash with the OBD2 port plug and disappears. So there's about 5 feet of wire wrapped up in there and zip tied 10 different ways that didn't need to be that way. So,
yeah. So getting it out in the first place has been a lot of fun, but the fact that we realized this thing, I mean, honestly, it basically had no source of tuning. You guys, like I literally said in the last video what the setup in the truck was, so if you want to know more about it, go back to the last video. But whenever this thing had the compounds on it, this thing would go from like 65 to 120 in a surprisingly fast amount of time. So whenever Andy's pulling the edge out, because eventually, I mean, it's going to get a Quadzilla with TJ Fry tuning. So that's why it's coming out. But I mean, whenever he gets that on there, this thing is going to be a handful. That's going to be a lot of fun to drive. And it should have way better manners. It should be much more streetable. I don't know. This is a good reason as to why we didn't understand how the injectors were what they were, because we felt they were way bigger with how smoky and just crazy it was, and we didn't believe they were 7x12s. But all this is gonna make sense now. I got a feeling that we're finding all this crap. So there's been just wires shoved in places. There's who even knows. So it'll be a lot better once all this stuff is out and we get to redo it. I'm gonna get some boost, or the line for the air hose or whatever for the boost gauge. I'm gonna get some of that tomorrow and plumb that stuff so we actually know kind of what boost we're seeing. If the spring gate is where it's supposed to be in the first place. Right now we think this is where it needs to be. We don't want to blow this charger up. It's a very good charger. I'm definitely happy with it. So
Edge has been deleted.
yeah, there's the Edge. You guys might see this video before Keller even gets around to posting it for sale. But Edge Juice with Attitude, for I believe that this is a 2001, I'm pretty sure. So 99s are different. You have to buy them specific for what year. Yeah, 0102 should be the same. He's going to sell this. Go ahead. I mean, if you have me on any sort of social media, go ahead and message me if you want it. And if he hasn't sold it yet, I will get you in contact with him. This stuff, I mean, the Edge Juice,
It'll
this
work
all
fine, but
yeah.
it all has to be hooked up
Yeah.
right, which it wasn't.
It'll work great, but it helps if it's hooked up. So don't worry about any of that. Like, it'll work. With the monitor, like all this stuff brand new with the monitor is like $1,200. So if you want a good deal on it and want to shoot over an offer, just go ahead and shoot me a message on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Just type in my name on there and you'll find me. So okay. Sorry, we're coming back for more talking. I know you guys don't like it when I do that, but so all this is really, really coming full circle. So this is making sense as far as, so as Andy, go ahead and say it how you were saying it. So essentially, if the truck is firing,
we think it's on a stock map because we took the edge off, started it, runs the exact same lopes, 100%. The injectors in here are not stock. They're aftermarket, much larger. So
different pop pressure than the stock too.
So we think it's firing the injectors at what it believes is a stock pop pressure.
Yeah.
And it takes more pressure to open them, so the injectors are firing later, hence lope and hence running like shit.
Timing is for sure retarded if the pop pressure is higher.
Yeah.
It's loping. Also higher RPM, like I know eventually VPs like hit a fuel cut because they run out of fuel at like 3,800.
This thing should come to life at the end of its...
Yeah, this thing hits a fuel cut at like 2,800 to 3,000, right? Whenever it should be just getting into it.
Stock map would defuel.
Yeah, defuel's hard. All makes sense. Completely makes sense. So whenever we get other tuning on this thing is going to be an animal. But obviously there's a bunch of things that we've been tidying up and that we just found, and it's crazy what people for some reason are allowed to do.
Yeah, so second engine things. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is something you should expect whenever you buy a second gen. You should expect stuff to be done wrong. There are good second gen owners out there, do not get me wrong, but they're limited.
This guy
and
was on the shit list of second gen owners.
Yeah. This guy was really cocky about his compound setup too, and thought that we ruined the truck by taking that off, and it ran way better with that. Long and behold, he didn't even have the edge hooked up. Like, blows my mind.
The boost gauge lines had holes in them. The compound, the interstage pipe had holes. Like,
yeah, there was not anywhere in that compound setup, including on the manifold, that this thing was not just pouring exhaust out of. There was boost leaks everywhere. So yeah, I would say it's came a long way. It's not the most aesthetically pleasing engine bay by any means, but yeah, yet it's came a lot farther. So we will continue to work on it. I just wanted to clue you guys in on that, and just, I don't know, double check if you buy a truck that's already been stuff done to it.
Don't buy a truck with an edge, for one.
Yeah, don't buy a truck with an edge, because I mean, but even though that's what everybody does, but I mean, just double check some people's work, because you never know what you're gonna find. I mean, obviously fluids go speak for themselves, but like electrical stuff like this, most people don't know how to wire this stuff up. These
trucks are known for electrical issues to begin with, so.
Yeah, exactly. They're known for grounds not being where they're supposed to be, or even intact, things like that. So we will keep hacking away at this thing. All right, guys, so I've made my way to the final bedside before I move on to my next step, but I was gonna bring you up here. Andy is running valve lack on the truck, so number one intake valve, I believe, was pretty loose, but the rest of everything so far has been very tight, which is what we expected, because the lash has probably never even been ran on this truck. Who knows, honestly. But what was that, number 5 exhaust? He could fit 32 thou in there and still have plenty of room to move. So the exhaust is supposed to be at 20 thou. That is, it's way off. So all of these have been way off. This thing should be much quieter at idle. I don't know, it should run a lot better too. So don't forget to do your typical maintenance, kids. So I am currently working on the next step. I made it to the bed. I've worked my way back, did the bed, did the extended cab door, and have begun on this door. Pretty close to being done with it. It's looking really good. These badges cleaned up very nice as well. But see if the clarity, yeah. Even that second step really does a lot, because whenever you are using a buffing compound pretty similar to what I'm using, you're going to, if you're using a rotary, more than likely you're going to see some swirl marks that you would see just like from a buffer, and it looks very bad. And if you get scared and stop there, that's the problem. So you really need to move on to the next step and go ahead and get rid of all those by, I drop down, let's see, I'll go up there and show you my buffer and show you, or it's hard to see, it's right there. It's got my foam finishing pad on it, and it is looking very good. So you can see the clarity is in the paint is pretty good. Like I was saying earlier, we didn't go as crazy on the compound as we could have, or we really could have sanded as well. But this is the soft foam pad that I'm using, and I'm still just using the same stuff. That's a fiddle focus. There we go. Cutting compound and finishing polish. So whenever you use the finishing pad, it gets much more fine as far as what it gets out, and it's definitely doing a great job right now. So I'm going to continue with this, and usually if I know where it's at, I don't know where I put it, I guess. Let's look over here. I've got a wax that's made by the same company. Oh, there it is. It's made by 3D as well. High gloss mountain wax. It's very, very, very glossy. I've been thrilled with it before. It made the OBS look phenomenal, and I will end up using it on this tomorrow after I get my waxing pad. So it's just gonna be much more softer foam, really. So I'm gonna show you guys what I was talking about earlier when I was saying I'm getting the swirls out with the foam pad or the finishing pad. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but like there's some, you can see the haze lines or the hash marks or whatever you want to call them. But those are from the cutting compound. It's very gritty and very aggressive. So with that being said, obviously it will not have a finishing type of, or like basically whenever you get done, the finish won't be the finished product. I mean, it's going to be, there's some people that stop at this and then wonder why their stuff looks so bad. But essentially, and I don't know if we'll be able to see this under light over here, but you can see probably on this door and this, like this is all already done versus this is not, and you can see all the haziness in it. So that's why I make a last pass with this same stuff at 600, well actually it's at 800 RPM, just real slow, go over it all nice, get good coverage, apply very little pressure, and just make a good pass over it and wipe it off really good. And then that's when I move on to my waxing, and however you guys prefer to do it, wax, sealant, ceramic coat. There's a bunch of different ways to do all this. This is just a simple wax job, so, or a wax job after the buff. So that's where I'm at. I wanted to elaborate on that because I was talking to somebody and they actually had a question as to why and what I was doing, and figured it was worth explaining to you guys as well because someone else might have the same question. And now we are on our final step, finally. So you can see it's starting to set up, but we're just putting on our preferred wax, I guess. You just choose your preferred wax and go with it. So got our applicator pad, got a fresh one. So honestly, all you do is just put a couple dots on it, and this brand for like the highest, it says for the highest protection and bonding, just allow it to cure for about 15 minutes at least. And it says the longer the better in all reality. But yeah, so reapply every 3 to 4 months and call it good. So that's what we'll do. But I've got both fenders and hood applicated right now. I'm gonna work my way back till I start hearing my timer. If it's longer the better. I'm gonna try and make it do the entire cab, and then I'll wipe it all this front stuff down, and after I do that I'll do the bed, and then just slowly, you know, work my way back, just as you guys would, or I mean, obviously you can set your timer and see how fast you can do it, but this stuff goes on like absolute butter if the surface is already done correctly. So update, I have cleaned all of the glass inside and out very thoroughly. Looks really good. The bed, I let it cure. While it was curing, that's whenever I did the glass. Came back, went ahead and got the bed all wiped down. My final wipe down happens outside in the sun. The sun shows everything, and then when it's out in the sun, I can also circle some spots that I need to go back over and hit. I'm far too picky. Just look how well these badges, I mean, all this stuff looks so good. And even the Laramie badge, like that's still surprising to me. But now I'll show you guys what I'm doing. And the very first time I said something about this, I caught a little bit of flack for some reason. I have no idea. Like, I didn't just learn this off YouTube. Like when I worked for a detail shop, this is like that's where I learned this from. So you guys can see a lot of the oxidation and whatnot on this chrome panel. Keller does not want to take it off because he's afraid of what's under it. I think that it'll probably take the paint off, but then we just have to two-tone the truck. But go ahead and look at this versus that. It's much more clear and crisp. And all that is invisible glass cleaner and some steel wool. And this is not like very abrasive steel wool. This is 0. So there's 4 zeros. It's like number 4. I don't even know what you would call it. It's quadruple 0 steel wool. 0000. That's what it is. So it's detailing steel wool is what it is, and it really does well on chrome. Those are not chrome. Do not use it on welds, for the love of God. All right, let's pull this thing back outside for you guys. Go ahead and go shut the garage door real quick. Okay, got it pulled out here. Figured I'd give you guys another walk around of the truck. Obviously down low and in the inner fenders, I mean, it needs washed out, but as far as the paint correction goes and everything else, the touch with the welds, a little hand polish on those real quick, and doing the chrome at the bottom, and just the full detail portion of it, it just looks really good. Now, this truck is not perfect, and me and Keller, I mean, we'll be the first ones to tell you that, but it's a lot easier to look at now. I need to get my tape measure and measure our height front to back, but as you can see, the front has settled some, so we are sitting much more level, you could say now. It's looking really good. My battery's about to run out, so here's the shot for you guys. This is what the second gen now looks like. I think it looks way better. Drop a comment below, let me know what you think, and I'll get this thing charged up and we'll keep moving on. Okay, so we're shutting the door back. We got the truck in. I washed the underside of the truck and all the oil out from under it. There's a, let's see if you guys will be able to see it. I don't know, it's hard to see in the camera, but that's pretty much all black. I popped the taillights out and washed up in our bedsides, because that is where rust really develops, where that inner fender, the metal piece, meets that bedside. So we washed it out really good. And I've always wondered, I'm like, well, you know what, Keller's taillights, something's going on, they might need new bulbs, we'll check it out. And as you guys saw last night, we had a bunch of electrical stuff going on, so we fixed it all. Wouldn't you know it, we got more to fix. So that's what we're on to next. Battery's about to die. I'm gonna put you on the charger and I'm gonna get all my stuff out. And I wanted to show you guys real quick what I found. So essentially they were tapping in, well, let's see if it'll focus. They were tapping into the reverse bulb. For what reason? No idea whatsoever. This side wasn't working. I got it to work. This bulb was actually, if you hit it right, it won't work. So I'm gonna have Keller get some new bulbs. I got both brake lights and reverse lights working this side, and you can see it was the same thing. All you can see is my dirty freaking hands. Those were the wires that were tapping in, and then we got like a cluster of wires down there that I think are for the trailer brake controller, and they're all wrapped up all over the place. It seems that everybody thinks they can wire in a trailer brake controller, and I've never seen one truck that had one wired right. So I'm gonna go ahead and take all that out and see where the mess up is and see if I can't fix it, and at least do it right and put it in some loom and make it look like it was there from the factory or something. So that's what I'm working on currently, and I think this might be one of the last issues that I will find. I'm hoping. All I need is some airline to hook up the boost gauge, and then I will be home free. Okay, so moving on to the next thing, and I'm sure at this point you guys are like, Gavin, you're just getting bored. You need to quit finding stuff to mess with on this truck. But I think I finally found the last thing, and I think I have successfully completed it. So you guys remember, if you are a consistent watcher of the videos, you know that I just fixed the tailgate on my 92 first gen because it wasn't doing anything at all. It wouldn't even open. This one, it took an act of Congress to get this thing open. It didn't sit flush right here. It wouldn't actually close all the way. So I've adjusted everything. It looks much better. Obviously, like, I took the plate off. There's a cover for it, but this is so much better. So you can see I moved the strikers a little bit, and I adjusted everything, and I adjusted in the handle as well. I'm gonna sneeze. All right, so I'm gonna have to put the handle back together, but I think it closes pretty easy. I'm pretty happy with that, and it's just, that is so much better. You used to really have to pull up on it very, very hard, and one of the rods in here was hung up actually, and I got it cleaned out and everything and lubed up, and it actually works now. So very happy with that. I'm gonna go ahead and put this stuff back in here and put the panel back on, and we're gonna, I think that'll probably call it good for that. So if this is the end of the video, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you liked the truck. Keller is probably gonna be very ecstatic whenever he sees it. It looks great, and if you guys would like to see more of the second gen, go ahead and let us know. It should be around. So I appreciate you guys coming to watch the video, and I appreciate you coming back. So until next time on the Old School Crew, we will see you. Keep kicking it old school. Peace out.